Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I wanted to talk about something that happened to me a few weeks ago that really helped me to reframe how I look at trading time and for money at work, and how that's forcing me to change the way that I look at retirement and when I actually do take retirement. So let's get into it. So a couple months ago, I noticed that I had this pain in my back that would kind of radiate down into my glute area, and then every now and then it would shoot down the back of my leg and sometimes all the way down to my foot. And it was bearable, and it wouldn't happen that often, but I wasn't really paying attention to when it would happen until a couple of weeks after the first time I noticed it. It started to kind of stick around, it started to linger, and it was just this constant pain that I was kind of dealing with. And I did what everybody else did. I started watching YouTube videos about how to stretch and how to get rid of this pain. And I found out that maybe I had to go see if I had maybe sciatica, which to me always sounded like an old person kind of condition. I always imagined the guys walking around with their hand on their butt and like bent over bit and shuffling. And I found myself kind of not shuffling and bending over, but definitely with my hand back there trying to massage this pain out. So what I decided to do is I decided to go to this wellness place here in the city that I live. And the first thing they did was they took an x-ray. And what they found kind of surprised me, because they showed my spine and the two vertebrae that they suspected, the L5 and the S1, which is your spine and then your sacrum. So what they showed me was those two vertebrae next to what it should look like. And that's when I realized stuff was breaking down. That was the moment that I realized now I had a concrete image showing that I wasn't immortal, that it wasn't, everything isn't in my head. There are physical changes that are happening because I'm 57. That 57 years of using this body causes some wear and tear. I was a little surprised when I asked the doctor what caused this. Was this from me? I used to do Olympic deadlifting as a workout. I said, could it be from that? Could it be from, did I do anything that would cause my body to break down like that, like between those two vertebrae, the disc? And he said, no, this is just normal wear and tear on your body. It's just the result of normal use of your spine and movement. And it wasn't anything that you did wrong. And I exercised regularly. I was in pretty good shape. I'm not a saint when it comes to eating, but I'm not excessive when I go out, and when I feel like things are getting out of hand, then I have the ability to rein that in, and I'll either fast or I'll watch my diet just to get the weight back under control. But I never had any bouts of extreme overweight or any times when I lifted overhead too heavy that caused serious back problems where I was out for a long time. There was no one to get mad at. There was no villain here. There was no event. There was no epic event that happened in my life that I could point to and say, I wish I hadn't have done that. I wish I could have changed that moment in my life. It just happened. So that news really changed the way that I think about retirement, because now that I saw that my body is slowly breaking down, and not drastically, this stuff's not gonna break and tomorrow I'm gonna be on the ground in a blob. But there is a natural progression that you go through, that your body goes through, where it's not going to keep going on in what you think is your 27-year-old state. That doesn't last until you're like 90, 100 years old. There is a slow progression down. So I started thinking about, my focus for retirement has always been on this dollar amount. And the reason it was always focused on the dollar amount is because I assumed that my health would be at this constant state, which could be like 30, 40, whatever it was. But I would always imagine that healthy state was always going to keep going. And then it was really the only variable that was changing that I needed to hit was this money. Seeing that image of my back caused me to think, I really need to think about at what point do I say, okay, this is enough, because if I wait too long, I may not have the ability to do a lot of the things that I'm imagining myself doing, like traveling a lot. Like sitting on planes is already a pain in the butt, but if this gets worse, sitting on planes for extended times to go traveling, that's going to be hard. Lifting things that are moderately heavy, that could get hard. Just daily living, daily living. I don't want to be getting up feeling miserable because my back is in pain. And this is only the first thing. I'm sure there's other things in my body that are through wear and tear are going to start exhibiting weakness, like soreness in the knees, shoulders, that kind of stuff. So now that it's a much different calculation, now I'm thinking about there's two variables now. One is money, and the other is my health, the age that I retire at, how healthy I am, and then how much healthy time do I have after that? Because that's not going to be definitely, I could always hope for 40, 50 years of additional healthy years, but let's say it's only 20. I want to make sure that I maximize that time and I don't try to trade some of that off for more money that's just going to end up going to pay for medical bills to deal with the pain and the natural stuff that's going to happen, like the breaking down of my body. There's a difference between the years of life that you're going to live and the years of living that you're actually going to do. For me, being stuck in being stuck inside, not being able to go out and walk, work in the yard, go travel like whenever I want to, or doing even just like working out and stuff, that stuff that really defines for me living. If I lose that, if I lose my mobility, my ability to do stuff for myself, then I'm really starting to think about, am I just living life? Am I just kind of existing in time, or am I actually doing stuff in that time? And that's also one of those things that I think you don't realize until you get further on in age, and then you start to see this. If you don't feel the breakdown, when you see the breakdown in an x-ray, then you start to understand there is going to be a difference between the quality of your life and the quantity of your life. So if I'm looking at this from a standpoint of my healthy years are limited, it really forces me to change the way that I make decisions. And the biggest decision, and I think this is true for people my age, is where we're still working, is when do you start saying that trading time for money at work is no longer a good deal? It was a good deal before, but now there's diminishing returns. The longer I stay, the more money I get. Am I really getting that much more out of that exchange with with the company that I work for? I think for this year, maybe, but what I find is that as the year goes on, the days where I question that trade-off are increasing. And I suspect that next year, that question will come up a lot more. And the year after that, it'll just increase to the point where it's just constantly on my mind all the time. And every time I ask it, it gets harder and harder to say, yeah, it's still a good trade. So I think that's something that's going to change. And just as my daughter is getting ready to go to college and my wife and I are going to be empty nesters, it's really thinking about, do I really want to keep spending time in an office or distracted by work instead of spending time with the people that I love, flying out to see my daughter when she's in college? And if she gets married and has kids, do I really want to be telling them, oh, well, let's go on a trip when I have vacation? I don't want work to define me, to say, oh yeah, I have a 2-week break here that I can take and give to you guys. I don't want to be in that position. So it's definitely going to change the way that I'm thinking about things. Starting today, the questions I'm already asking are, is it a good trade? It's still a good trade, but I think as time goes on, that trade becomes less and less valuable for me. This is not a financial retirement planning channel. In fact, this channel, I don't even know what this channel is. I'm using this channel as a way to journal and just see how my thinking changes as the days and weeks go by and these big life events happen. But I think this is going to be part of a longer conversation about where I kind of start to look at things differently as I spend more time watching a lot of these financial YouTube videos about when to retire. I'm noticing a lot more the healthy average life expectancy. That's like a big number for me now. Whereas before, I never thought about that. Those things, figuring out maybe now is the time to talk to a financial planner if I'm planning to retire within the next 5 years. It sounds like, yeah, I'm like with that start of that window where it's becoming critical to go talk to someone to start planning that transition out and not to wait the day before and go, hey, I want to retire. Can I do it? So there's a lot of that planning. So that's where this is going to go. I'm not sure if this resonated with anybody that and made sense. Leave me a comment, subscribe, and thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next video.